Well, if you're here and you haven't already, please give the stream a thumbs up. For some reason, even with the horrendous audio issues that we've been struggling through, we have managed to pick up some viewers while doing that. Lee was here, first of all. Lee Evans. Hope you're doing well. I think he was here about 4 hours early, which is very keen. So, we're here to talk about the new FAQ. Before we get started, we should just say, how do you feel about the changes? Do you think there are significant changes? Do you think it didn't go far enough? What are your thoughts in terms of top-down overview?
There's kind of 2 segments to this FAQ because
Sure.
the thing that everyone wanted they gave us. Like they nerfed Cathay.
True.
They're like okay. They're
Sure.
they're like generally fine. I wish they proofread them because they accidentally nerfed the wrong item
Sure.
2 times, which is kind of wild. But you would think someone would have caught it, but I guess not. But all that stuff I accept, and like everyone was asking for Cathay to be nerfed, and I think they did a reasonable job at nerfing them in such a way that like it's still a good army, but it's no longer like the thing that's keeping everyone up at night and like, oh my god, is this going to ruin the game? That kind of feeling. And then the other half of the FAQ, which is pretty much everything else, was like pile of dog shit. It was horrible. So bad, man. Oh no.
It didn't really touch some of the things. Introductions after discussing opinions for the lay people. Okay, yeah, I probably should also introduce you. I just kind of assumed that everyone would know who you were because you've been here often enough. This is Shane, or Ors, and he is here to talk Warhammer. Why should you respect his opinion? He was on Team America last year, even though he's Canadian. So there we go. All arguments to the back. And now let's argue at Warhammer. Cool. So we're going to go through. It's the normal tier list. This is talking about how they are as a competitive army. So on a scale of S tier to F tier, S tier is obviously the factions that are good or maybe too good. So previously, before the FAQ, that was obviously like Cathay, Vampire Counts, those sorts of armies. A tier is very good, still a tournament contender, but maybe not. Doesn't have an amazing spread of matchups into everything. B tier it's playable. It's not bad. You'll struggle to win an event with it. You could win an event with it if you get like a really good spread of matchups and you're a good player, but you kind of need things to go really well for you as opposed to just be like, I can consistently do well with the faction. C tier is like, this is kind of booty cheeks. You're not good, but you're having fun with a faction and you can do well with it if you play it a lot and you know all the inside tricks. Maybe like Skaven before they got the Storm Vermin unit nerfed, to which now it maybe kind of just doesn't work. And then F tier is you're actively making your life worse for playing this faction. If you enjoy it and you don't mind losing, that's fine. But if you want to do well competitively, this faction will drive you nuts, basically, I think is a T for Troll Slayer. Yeah, Trolls might go in one of these factions, but who can say which one? I also think I've hopefully got all of the factions on there. And if I haven't, I can adjust on the fly. Or not. Maybe we'll just skip one. If it's new and it's not on there, maybe it doesn't matter. I've remembered to add Jade Fleet and Renegade Crown, so I think we've got everything since the last time we did this tier list. As long as I didn't miss anything off the original one. So who can say? We'll find out whether or not this is a full tier list there. We're going to go, I think we'll just go left to right. So, as the guest, would you like to start off with Empire Grand Army? Whereabouts are they going to sit and why?
This is a faction near and dear to my heart. So for me, like my gut impression for Empire Grand Army is C.
Sure.
If you're gonna play this army, this is not like the strongest way to play it. It's not a complete disaster.
Mm-hmm.
It is really hard to string together a really good list with this faction right now.
Sure.
Not a ton has changed for them. In this round of FAQs.
Flatulence.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I took a look at it and I'm like, still, I don't think this is remotely
so
useful.
many points. Yeah. There's so many points. And when I was looking at it, I was like, maybe there's something here. Like, there almost certainly isn't. But Empire can at least bring like demonology wizards to cast Deed Shadows on them. Like, if they're like 7 or 8 points, maybe they could be some sort of like unbreakable rule. Oh, they're twice that much. They're so expensive. Yeah, they're pretty sad.
The priest getting a leadership buff is kind of nice, and Lowen Hack finally getting leadership 10 like every other Empire general is nice.
Yes,
I asked that one too, so I'm really
nice.
happy they answered it.
You know what's really
so,
sad? I think the priest leadership buff is better for another army that isn't Empire.
That's true. That's true. I don't think it's like remotely useful still, and like it's sad because warrior priests are like kind of like one of the most Warhammer units that there are. Like when you think of Warhammer, that's like one of the things you think of probably, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, that like not a ton has changed. So for me, it's a C. I'm not like if I'm looking to play a competitive game, I'm probably not picking these guys up.
Sure.
Can you win a tournament with them? Probably.
Sure.
Like if you put together a really good list and you get the right pairings, you can win.
Yeah, I think maybe when I described B tier as like you need a good string of like opponents, that kind of ruins the whole way of describing the tier list realistically, because if you get a good string of opponents or like armies,
anything's possible. Yeah, anything's possible. Yeah,
yeah. So like C tier is like, oh, you really need to be like, well, I only play against Chex Notes, I don't know, Troll Horde, and for some reason, I've got every model has a burning blade. I don't know. It's yeah. So I think C tier is super fair. Do you think that changes at points levels? Do you think running 2 steam tanks is enough to make them a little bit more interesting? I'm not famously a steam tank enjoyer, but how do you feel about that?
I love steam tanks.
Sure.
Steam tank is probably, in terms of like the game and in terms of like the lore and everything, I love the steam tank. So
sure.
I think if you play higher, they probably get a touch better.
Sure.
But like it's not swinging the whole game around to have 2 steam tanks now.
Sure.
There are some armies that can just kind of like, mess with it, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like the Monkey King's Wisdom guy, just kind of takes it to school. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem. I said this to Amy yesterday. I was like, we don't compare to the other factions. If you look at what Cathay's got, you'll still be sad. So maybe we just say like, oh, how do they fare into the rest of the meta? Even though Cathay are not anywhere near as bad. But yeah, that Monkey King invalidates a lot of units in interesting ways. I've had the fun experience of sending Dragon Ogres into him, and I still think Dragon Ogres are pretty good. So I'm not going to write them off because of that. But yeah, I'm much more of an Iron Demon fan over a Steam Tank fan. I will say, I think they just feel like a better fit in the army, at least.
I mean, if I could take a Steam Tank in Chaos Throws, I would. If that says anything. But,
yeah,
anyway.
I like instead of the Iron Demon.
I mean, I think the Steam Tank just has a better stat line straight up than the Iron Demon does. But
that is fair. That is fair. I was thinking about the equipment on top of it, the weapon and the war saves that's built you can buy.
It's also like it's a special choice, and
sure.
It's kind of one of the only things in that army that like really kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of the other units are kind of nonsense. So it kind of is like the standout of that roster. Whereas Empire has like a few more units that are like solid units, like your great cannon and so on. But I love both. So it's asking me to choose between those two is tough.
I wouldn't make you choose your favorite child on stream. We all know that parents all have a favorite child, but I'm not going to make you say it in public. I might ask you privately later to tell me who it is, and then so you can swear me to secrecy. But yeah, Empire and C, I think that's fair, and I think slightly better if you can run 2 steam tanks feels fair as well, but probably doesn't bump them up to B tier. You know what does go in B tier? Knightly Orders. JK, it's B for bad.
Oh, okay. Oof.
I think I want to give them another look. I feel like with Cathay Lanterns getting nerfed, and specifically the Sky Bombs, there is a world where we see larger units become more prevalent in the meta. And if I'm seeing larger units in the meta, maybe there's a world where I can run lots of cavalry with 2 attacks each at strength 5 AP2. Is it going to be good? No. Do I think it comes out of F tier? Maybe it verges into C tier if I put some like really thick glasses on that are not my prescription and are also painted black. I really like Knightly Elder. I like it, and I love Heralds of Darkness. I love the Nomadic War. I don't really play them, even though they're fun. I think it's just sad. Unfortunately, there are too many
Yeah.
restrictions. I think if you could take all of the good stuff, like you could go, hey, I want to play, the White Wolves and also have level 4 wizards. It's still not great, but I can see an angle where you're like, oh, let's consistently give them battle lust and at least do the thing that they're trying to do better. And if I can put cannons in to back them up, if I can just play like a supercharged version of Grand Army, yeah, I think the list becomes more interesting. But they're so restrictive that I think it's really hard to love it as a competitive choice, at least.
It's I think when the 1.51 infantry changes happened, I think a lot of people had this impression in their mind that it was infantry units that were really like suffering out there.
Uh-huh.
But the actual issue was not that infantry units were really weak. It was that, your monsters, your chariots, those units were overperforming and really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Cavalry units kind of secretly are in a similar boat that infantry were prior, because now, you know, if you get charged by a big dragon guy, you're finished. Right?
Yeah,
'Cause
you're really not happy about it.
yeah, like unless you've got like a 500 point unit going,
Yeah.
your combat res score is not going to be high. You challenge them, you probably still lose combat, right? So that's very bad news. And then it just so happens that like the big boogeymen of the meta right now are all things that would love you to put, 400 points into 12 wounds. That sounds like a Beastman player's wet dream, right? Like what are they going to do, right?
But I heard that Magic Resist is going to stop Viletide.
I mean, kinda, yeah, but like at the same time, you've
Kinda,
also
yeah,
got to
but
fight
also
against,
really no.
like potentially 20 crane guns, and then you've got to fight against like all these other things
Oh,
that
we'll
are
we'll, we'll
attacking you
talk
on a
we'll talk
different
about
angle.
crane guns.
Yeah,
I know we don't see eye to eye on Cathay, that's for sure. So that's going to be an interesting one to get to. But I agree. They're not in a great spot, and we'll save the crane gun discussion for when we reach Cathay, and then we can argue about it again when we get to J Fleet as well, which will be great.
yeah.
Speaking of shooting armies, though, here's one that I personally don't think is bad. What about Nuln? Where do you stand on Nuln?
So looking at like both anecdotal experience and win rates across the game, not exactly a top performing army.
Okay.
From what I've seen. Kind of the niche that they carved out in the prior version of the game was that, if your opponent was bringing the kind of Bomber Cathay army, this had a good game against the Bomber Cathay army. And there were a couple other lists. So, like, if you're trying to play Bretonia with, like, the very aggressive army to try and get in the face. I mean, you would still lose to Cathay, but that was kind of the best thing you could do with Bretonia.
Sure.
And there's a few other armies that Nuln performed well against. But the issue is all of the best armies are just like, you never want to ever play against that with Nuln. Can you win a turn with this army? Yeah, you can.
Yep.
You kind of have to end up in a situation where like everyone's like, oh, the top armies are out there. I want to make an army that beats those top armies. And then you're like the counter to those. You're like the level 3 choice on the game design there, or the game theory. So I have them in B.
Okay. So here's my toxic trait. There was a great quote back in 9th edition 40k, and I can't remember who said it. It was one of the game designers said it on a stream, and they said the Space Marines aren't bad. Space Marine players are bad because it's the starting faction. And everyone plays it. Everyone has a Space Marine army, so the stats don't accurately represent how Space Marines play. He then went to a 5-game tournament and went 0-5 with Space Marines. So that's just something that lives with me rent free. I think it's hilarious. However,
it's accurate. You said they were bad, and he was bad.
At the time, Space Marines were actually bad, though, so he was wrong. But I'm different. Nuln isn't bad. Nuln players are not necessarily playing the like best most tune list. I think B is fair, but I think that Nuln is an army that rewards player skill more highly than most other factions in the game right now. I think you have to be very good with your positioning. And I think if you also put together a bad list by taking steam tanks, you will perform worse with that faction. So I think B's fair, but I'm going to put them at the top of B. You're smiling to yourself. Do you disagree?
I just think you have to be when you say that you have to it rewards player skill. It also just rewards winning the dice roll to go first, right? So
Yes, that's player
that's a
skill. What are
skill
we
of its own.
talking
That's a skill of its own.
about? To be fair, to be entirely fair here, huge shout out to Remy, who is the only person I see still consistently doing this. You can go for a low drop list with Van
Boner.
what's his face, yeah, and then
Yeah, I
you
was
get
gonna say,
+2 to go first, and like the
That's
skill
the way
of
to
his
do
list
it,
building, yeah. I like
Yeah.
that list. Shout out to Remy, one of my coaching students, who we went to the WTC Open, and he was the top performing player. Maybe Nuln with Lone Hack is good. Who can say? Who can say? Not me, not my place. But yeah, I think B is fair. Which takes me on to, and I don't know what happens with the order of this. I haven't rearranged them. I just reloaded up an old tier list and put some extra factions in. Apparently, we've gone from Empire to Dark Elves, which, as we all know, D follows E in the alphabet. But this is one that I get to talk about. How do I feel about Dark Elves? Dark Elves are, I think, might be better than High Elf Grand Army. Now, that is not saying a lot. And it's kind of, which of these two rotten plums do you like the look of more? But I think they are maybe the very bottom of B. I think it's probably the top of C, but it's a 2-dragon army, and it's good dragons. You can put a wizard with Lore Familiar and the Pendant of Kaleth on, a dragon, which is a 4-up ward save against Strength 5 or greater, and a 5-up ward save against everything else. Most things that kill dragons, not looking at you, Valtide, shut up, are going to give you a 4-up ward save. So cannons, you've got a 50-50 chance to just null it. You can give the Lord on Dragon the shield that gives you -1 to the strength of incoming attacks. That's really nice as well. I think they are a solidly mediocre army, which will struggle to win events. But if you got a good run where it's like things I can bully with dragons, maybe I could see them doing okay. Like they're in my mind, third best dragon army, if you go with like Trace High Elves being above them and Warriors of Chaos being above them. So I think that gives them some level of power. You seem unconvinced. What do you think?
No, I generally kind of agree with you. I think I just have a lower opinion by a touch than this because
Sure.
when I look at their roster, Dark Riders are okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the end of the story. Like there's not really anything else in this army that is like
I think
exciting.
It's the same as when from the start. It's just dragons are not able to do as much heavy lifting as they were before. The things that are good for Dark Elves are very good, and there's not many of them. So you're like, well, I guess I'm running. I think a unit of repeater crossbowmen with shields is not bad. It's like a home field objective holder because it's a ranged unit that has a hand weapon, shield, light armor, and they're not super pricey.
They're super pricey compared to the actual good. I sit on a 30 point per turn.
Sure. So keep in mind
yeah.
how often I play elves, so how broken my brain is, what I'm willing to pay to sit on an objective. Like, I'm looking at, Glade Guard, and I'm like, you know what? These repeater crossbowmen are pretty decent, eh? I would 100% take, or like a unit of spearmen. Spearmen are 8 points a model, so they're not too pricey. Or dread swords, I think.
That's horrible. That's so many points.
Hey, you take what you can get. Not all of us get to play the good factions. Well, we all get to play the good factions. Not all of us want to play the good factions all of the time. I still stand on Dark Elf Infantry Corps being the best infantry corps. Maybe not Deepwood Scouts. Better than High Elf Infantry Corps. There we go. That's my firm stance on the matter.
Can't say I agree.
Okay.
But yeah, I've actually seen people play well with a unit that we will talk later about. But.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. I want to be very clear. I've said something that I immediately want to walk back. I am not talking about Trace. I want to be very clear. I'm talking about Grand Army specifically. And then, if you disagree with me on the core in Grand Army, then, maybe there's a discussion to be had there. But it's definitely not better than Woodsman.
Yeah, we'll get to that one.
Cool.
So, like, I don't know. They're like fine. Like you can be like on the back of double dragon stuff. You can do okay, but again, running into the big boys right now, shield of ground's not going to do much for you, and like the 4+ ward against strength 5 is not going to do much for you into like the two boogeymen of the game right now. So what are you going to do?
They've got high leadership 10 on their. I have been considering what if I just went double Dreadlord and like went to leadership 10 dragons and just didn't bother with
I
the
think
magic
that's
as well.
currently suicide, but you can do it.
Yeah, I haven't play tested it. Anyway, we'll leave them
Yeah.
in B and we'll move on before you manage to sway the viewers against me.
I'm fine. I'm fine with me.
Yeah, we are on to Orcs and Goblins, and it is your turn to talk about the Grand Army.
This is like the most like fair army in the game currently.
Yes.
It is like a reasonable army. It's got lots of good units.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the internal balance is still kind of off because
Well, they
Night
just have
Goblins are
6
still-
units that do the same thing for each unit, like archetype, is the problem. So I don't know how they balance them.
So I will say I think Orc Boys are like some of the most underrated units in the game.
Mhm.
Like the Orc Boys
like them.
have an amazing stat line. They have
Mhm.
several great options. They have all kinds of stuff going on that makes them appealing. But you really, I struggle to like take them in an army because like Night Goblins are just that much better, right?
Yeah.
Like Night Goblins kind of overshadow everything, and then to the opposite extent, their common Goblin cousins are just like what is going on with this unit? Why is it like this?
Yeah.
Why are they initiative 2?
They
Like,
can be skirmish if you want them to. So that's a thing
You do.
that
you
Night
do
Goblins
usually,
don't have.
but
Yeah, exactly. That's the only way I'd take them. But like speaking of Orc Boys, because people might not have ever seen them on the table in this edition, Orc Boys are super flexible. You can go, hand weapon, shield, light armor, and a warbow for like it's what 5 or 6 points or something like that. I think it's
6
6
points.
with a shield, like that.
6
like
points,
for T4 with a 4-up save in combat, you can be skirmish or you can be close order or open order. You have to pick, unfortunately, which does knock them down. But I don't know. I like him.
I mean, I love their style, and every time I look at their armor list, I'm like, wow, Orc Boys are good. Like they have so much stuff going on. I wish they made Night Goblins a little less. The only thing you can take really, and it would be a simple change. But anyway, so this is an A tier army. You can play a pretty decent variety of units and like do well. They've got a lot of like unique strengths. They still have really good magic items. There's a couple things that kind of hold them back from like really taking on the big boys. And one of them is like their dispel options are not incredible, and right now that's kind of the best thing in the whole game. So I can't quite see them in S, and I can't see them being the thing that you're really out there to tech for. But you can play a game against almost every army with this list.
Yeah, I think so. For me, my bias is I want to rate them lower than they actually are because they're such, as you said, they're a very fair army, and I feel like fair armies have a harder time winning tournaments. I think across the board, though, if we're talking about how good they are competitively, A tier is fine. I think I'd put them lower in the bracket. The problem is, like, a lot of the power they have is you can play around it. So, like, you can play around Fanatics. Oh, am I going to sit here, 14 or 15 inches away from you? You're gonna release some Fanatics? No? All right, I charge you. Yes, okay, I won't charge you. It's frustratingly linear. Obviously, this is, like, the idealized situation, but I feel like other armies, like, you don't necessarily play around Vile Tide in the same way, You don't play against... It's harder to play against Spectral Doppelganger Shock. And she's like, oh, well...
Yes and no. Yes and no. Some armies, you see, like, 15 Fanatics in their list, and you're like, oh, well, I can't ever do my thing anymore.
Man, I wish I hadn't brought Nightly Orders.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't Pegasus Knights, because, like,
Sure.
I just can't fight that ever, right? But then some armies are like, I don't care. I'm sitting back here, buddy.
Yeah.
You got to walk up the board to come get me, right? So there's something you can do about it. And then Beastmen, you load up everything into one unit. You've got MR3, you've got like your Infernal Puppet or whatever, and you're just like, can you roll a 9 to cast it? If so, then yeah. If not, then you lose. Right? That's what I'm thinking. But anyway.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Troll Horde. talked and thought a lot about Troll Horde, and there are not many competitive Troll Horde players in the country. There are really not many competitive Troll players in the world. I think I don't want to put it in F because I think it does have
Oh,
some
it's not
raw
enough.
power. Please be
It's
kind.
not
This
enough.
is not a bribe. No, no, no. I'm being kind by rating it low because Amy is incredibly, if you take draws out of the matrix, has like roughly, what was it, about a 60-65% win rate with trolls if you remove draws from the equation. It's a very drawish army. Like, it's hard to play. But in terms of like raw win-loss, you're doing way better than you should be. And unfortunately, as I've come to appreciate from all of the multi-hour chats that we have about Troll Horde, the best part of the trolls is Troll Horde is not the trolls. So writing a list with as few trolls as possible is sadly probably the way to go, which makes it very hard to feel like a troll hard army. But um, into like sure, like knightly orders. Oh, you charge me and do some wounds, and then I slap you, and then I lose combat and fall back in good order. But it's fine because I've set up multiple charges. Great. Yeah, I think C tier feels about right to me.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
Cool. What about the other orcs, the fast ones?
Kind of the same. Like I said, this it kind of speaks to the depth of the list, where like, Troll Horde can't take really the best units in the roster, and they're
Yeah,
like still, it's not the worst thing ever.
sure.
Nomadic WoW is kind of the same thing. You're missing out on some of the best units in the roster. The compensation you get for it doesn't really pay off, but it's still like a reasonable army.
Yeah.
It's still like you can still do some stuff. There's still some good tricks in there. Um, I think this is a little bit better than Troll Horde, but it's not better by a ton. So like probably still have it C tier.
I could be convinced that it was towards the bottom of B, honestly. I played this weekend, I think is the first time. Well, no, that's not true. I played against some like pretty decent Troll Horde players, Nomadic WoW players before, but this is the first time I've played against Nomadic WoW players this weekend just gone, whose game plan wasn't run at me and to do other things with their pieces. And now I was playing Wood Elves. So am I the best judge for whether an army is strong or not? Maybe not. I lost to Slayer Host, so who can say? But I don't know. I was impressed by the flexibility they had.
Were you allowed to play like the actual full Slayer host, or did you only have 3 Doomseekers?
No, they had loads.
Oh,
But,
okay. There's nothing embarrassing about losing to Slayer Horde. Slayer Horde is good.
I'm not going to rant about this on stream. I've already told Lewis I hate his mission. But it was basically the only scoring in the mission aside from domination was a 250-point strategic location that moves, and once it's controlled by a player, it moves in the direction they choose. And turn 1, it went towards my
King
opponent's
of the
death
Hill
ball.
that goes towards him.
Oh, and
no.
I was like, oh no, my game plan of not interacting with you at all now doesn't work, so I have to try and engage with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not salty, I'm not bitter. I am both of those things. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. I think I might be rating this too highly. Do you think I should move it down to C? I'm willing to bow to you on this one because I just lost a Nomadic War, basically.
I think B is reasonable. Like when I compare this to Dark Elves, when I compare this to Nuln, I don't think so. I think Nuln is definitely better than Nomadic Wa, but so it's tough to say. Yeah. I think they're in the same league as Empire.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's actually fair. Like if Empire is the measuring stick, honestly, Empire might be better because you can bring cannons. So I'm just gonna put it there, and we'll maybe that means that I want to move Troll Horde down. No, it's fine. We'll go on from there. All right. So
ironically, cannon stocks have plunged. Cannon stocks against like the boogeymen are
no, because
really
my opponent's going to bring 6 cannons, so I need to bring cannons to shoot their cannons. You see, it's frightfully important that I do that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, at the mid and low tables, that those kind of things matter, right? So
sure. We've got the first legacy army, which is Skaven, and I think it's important. What we'll do is we'll rate these based on just legacy, but we can talk about them in the context of renegades as well, and whether that changes things significantly. I think
about Dark Elves?
They don't have renegade rules, like, not ones that matter.
They do. They do, but they're not super relevant.
Yeah, like honestly, good point. I just forgot, but I don't think
Everyone
the
does.
Renegade rules make a difference. I think because I've played so many games of Dark Elves. I was having a look at my Old World rankings the other day. Shout out to Old World rankings if you want to track how you're doing. It's a great website. Really clean as well. Like coming from 40k. I'm so pleased that we have something that just is good, as opposed to BCP. Anyway, I was looking. I was like, huh. Tournaments played. Dark Elves 7. Every other army on there, and there's lots of them. 2 maximum. I hadn't realised that I'd gone to so many events with Dark Elves. Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing that I didn't win more of them. I need to pull my finger out. But anyway, yes, Dark Elves. I don't feel like the legacy changes or the Renegade changes really move the needle on them in a meaningful way. So they can just stay where they are. But Skaven, Grand Army. Whose turn is it? What are we talking about?
We just did Nomadic Wow, which you were salty about. So
I know I'm not salty about losing to Nomadic Wow. That was fine. My opponent played very well. It was very sad that I didn't kill his Bone Grinder after being vehemently against them repeatedly. But that wasn't necessarily why the game went away from me. Anyway, Skaven Grand Army. Their one trick that they had, in my opinion, which is the Storm Vermin Death Star that would fly around the board, and then you'd do things with multiple characters, you'd bounce them around. You'd have you'd use their Verminous Valor to move to the back. You would position characters in the second ranks, the ones that you didn't want to die but you still wanted the buffs from. All of those things involved. It's yeah, that is worse because you now can't put like the Battle Magic caster or the Demonology caster or the BSB in the second rank. Characters have to go to the front rank or they don't get the bonuses. So I think I genuinely could have been convinced before the FAQ that Skaven were a B tier faction. I've seen some very good players do some surprisingly good things with them, and it is a super narrow army, but I think now that that is worse, you can only go with 4 characters. I think that drops the faction to C tier, probably on par with Nomadic War for me. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't think the like second row changes are like, you know, the end of the day for the Storm Vermin Death Star. That's still kind of what you do. It's just it's a little worse now. You can't hide the BSB or the Grey Seer anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say
You still can, you get messed up by it if you do.
I played a coaching game against Skaven this morning, I think it was. Yeah, that was it. And 2,600 points with Renegades. I was like, hey, you know what? Hellput Abominations, not terrible. You're doing something. Warp Fire Cannons, all right. Warp Lightning Cannons, hell yeah. So I think I moved the Renegade rules up a hole above Nomadic War. Hey, T6 Hellpits. I mean, they're like bad Spawn of Nurgle, giant Spawn of Nurgle.
Yeah, and more expensive.
Yeah. They're all right, though. The impact hits were surprising.
Okay,
yeah. Still C tier. Which puts us into dwarves. You know, C is for dwarves, as we both know. We'll start off with Grand Army. What do you think of Grand Army?
Dwarves are in a rough spot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things at once. So a lot of the strength of dwarves was kind of attacked pretty heavily in the 1.51 FAQ. You know, like the Anvil of Doom went from like this is a must-have unit to a like do I really want this kind of unit. A lot of their like random shooting options got nerfed, like obviously the Trollhammer Torpedo and so on. It's like, you know, Richie can, you know, probably run a Dwarf Grand Army and probably do okay at a tournament. Winning a tournament right now with dwarves is tough.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to put them in F.
Ooh.
Unfortunately.
I think that might be too harsh because I feel like you can bunker up and have moderate success, right? You just take
like you're gonna get stomped. Like Viletide's gonna come for you, right? Like, you know what I mean, there's not a ton you can do about it. You can take your MR
Well, you can take
Uh,
the auto dispel scrolls because you only need to
yeah, they've
nix.
got
No, yeah,
three
but
or four Valentine's a turn.
you only have to hit the one that's what do we call it?
Hag Tree Fetish.
High Tree Fetish, yeah. Because like on average, a Viletide does 3 wounds, right? Without
Sure.
rerolls, and that's good. It's good into dwarves where each wound is like 12 to 16 points or whatever it is. But if we're just going like, okay, your casting value is higher. You've got probably less Valetides in the list now because of that. You may be, in my opinion, Wild Herd moves towards like you go for the Black Maul character, and then you go 2
Yeah.
Valetides and Demonology level 2 with a Law Familiar. Anyway, but we'll have that discussion later on. I think there are with the higher casting value and the magic resist you can put in the units like MR2. I think you're not as worried about the random splash Valetides. It's just the Hag Tree Fetish one that makes you really quake. And if you take like 3 auto dispels, also really good in the meta. The Monkey King Shug illusion, 3 auto dispels there feels really solid. Like maybe that's just something that dwarf players need to build more into.
Yeah, I'm just like when you're looking at this army, like the things you can do with that,
Mm.
it's just so much worse than all these other options we've put up. Would you want this over Empire? Would you want this over Skaven? Would you want this over
Yeah,
Nomadic Wa?
I think I'd play it over those.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
my bias might be that I only ever really play against a very good dwarf player. So like maybe my mentality is just like, well, Richie's really good with dwarves. So like, is that
Yeah, but
something that's
Richie in a alternate universe could probably do, pretty well with Empire or Skaven or Nomadic Wa too.
but he
Right.
hasn't, and therefore I don't have that internal bias. I don't know. I think dwarves have
Shout out
legs.
Shout out to Delhi After Dark, by the way.
Yeah. Oh no, you've gone blurry on screen. I think we called it those. You sound
Oh
like that.
no!
It is a
I
nice
have
shirt.
the Richie's Delhi or Electric Witch shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to put them in NC. I think there's something that I'm really tempted to put them together. I really like Iron Drakes. That is a unit that I enjoy immensely. But I don't know. I'll probably just not get around to them this year, as I didn't get around to them last year. It's unfortunate. Then we've got Royal Clans, which is kind of just the same thing, but more focused towards melee. I don't have strong thoughts on this army, to be honest. It's not one that I really have put much thinking into. They kind of feel very similar to me.
Yeah. It's pretty samey with
Yeah.
the Grand Army, in my opinion. There may be reasons that it's slightly better, or maybe reasons that it's slightly worse. I don't have a lot of experience diving into like the difference between the two, so
Sure.
I view them pretty similar.
Yeah, I think, and it's been a while since I've actively looked to build a Royal Host list. I think you can't take cannons, right? You can only take
Both throwers, probably.
bolt throwers and grudge throwers. So I think on
Yeah.
that basis, even though dwarf cannons are the worst of all the cannons, having a cannon that's also magical in this meta does have some utility to it. I like if I'm taking a war machine, I want their bad cannons probably over their decent stone throwers. So
I would probably disagree. I think
Yeah.
the grudge thrower is probably still better than the cannon, but
I find that
it
I
is
just
what it
don't
is.
hit with them. Is the problem I have with stone throwers. Like even Doom divers can be swingy, and that's with the adjustment. And I love it. I love a Doom diver. So I don't
because we're in like the Death Star
know.
game
That's
right
true.
now.
That's true.
Your chances are like pretty reasonable that you're gonna like hit something. The question is like, is that rate worth it to you? Like, is it a good thing that you kill 3 Graveguard when you hit? It's like, yeah, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Matthew says this list is kind of a downer. I think it's just that we've hit all the a lot of really bad armies to start with. I swear there
Yeah.
are good armies, we just haven't got to them. And it's not. I haven't sorted them in any way. This is just how they came out from the last time I did this in a different meta. Okay, so then we've got X-Force, and I think X-Force does have legs to it. It's an evasive shooting list when I think evasive shooting needs a lot of power to get things done. So that's a little bit rough. I don't know that it has quite the output that I'd want it into, like the really good stuff. Like, if I'm looking at putting it into vampire counts, I don't know that you can actually kill units before they get rezzed up. If you're putting it into beastmen, with their layered defenses. I think it's very difficult. But I feel like, if anything, this is a B tier faction because it's dwarves with agency. And I think having agency in your list gives you a lot more ability to win. So when you're looking to play a lot of the copters, that gives you more strength. So I want to put this probably above Dark Elves, honestly.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I actually think this. I think this is better than Nuln.
Okay.
And it's better than Nuln for so like if we're talking in a 1v1 tournament, it's a bit of a toss up. In a team situation, I think there's more games where like you can play I just want to be a blocker army with X-Force than you can with Nuln. Because Nuln kind of just has more like, oops, you're playing the wrong thing, I lose. Whereas X-Force can just be like, I run away from you. You can't catch me. Right?
That's
in a lot of
interesting.
matchups. And then the other thing about X-Force is that different communities play the dig-in rule like vastly differently.
True.
I've seen some Italian people who play it like completely opposite to how I've seen it played.
Yeah.
And that said, if you play it that it works the same as Earth and Ramparts, I think that changes a lot of things for this army.
Yeah.
And if you play it where it basically just gives you cover, then your unit is now just a liability. It's like, why do you have this in your army, right? So
Sure.
yeah. So like I it's a B, and it's like if we're sorting within the tier, I have this above Nuln. It's not by like a big margin. And then both Nuln and X-Force are in this awkward situation where a lot of people are kind of still holding on to their like anti-Dragonfire Bomb tech. So like people are still taking their -1 to hit from shooting or like whatever else you can take.
Sure.
And that really hurts these armies. Like that's very bad news for these armies.
Guys, we're not taking a million balloons with Dragonfire bombs. Please stop putting your -1 to hit on everything.
Yeah.
Signed, a Wood Elf player. When I played
Yeah.
round 5 against Wolf of the Sea, where every unit was T5 and -1 to hit. Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you on that. Yes. So okay, in the B, I feel like Nuln is better. You feel X-Force is better. I think 1A, 1B next to each other feels pretty okay in terms of in the tier list. I'll make sure to keep them next to each other when we're putting stuff in there.
Arguably 1B, 2B.
Hey, yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you to Hilsk, who says, where are the Slayers? And I realized that was the one army
They're not
that I
on there.
hadn't
Yeah,
added.
I noticed that earlier.
Oh, okay. Well, I have definitely the Slayer logo that you'd expect to see now. I've updated. If you want to refresh your tier list on your side, Shane, you'll see it.
It's going to delete mine.
I don't. I hope it doesn't.
No, it works.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. But you can see there is now a Slayer logo in there. I'm very down on Slayers. I think they're C tier. I know I lost to them. I am convinced my opponent was good. I'm in no way maligning the skill of my opponent, and I think both Slayer players did actually surprisingly well at Saffron Slam. I think from seeing them play this weekend, they're actually surprisingly deployment biased. And if you're playing on diagonal deployments where it's harder to avoid them, I actually think that gives them a surprising amount of power compared to just on a normal long edge deployment where it's much easier to give them the run around. I still think they're a C tier faction, even if you can take unlimited Doomseekers.
So it depends on what your goal in the tournament is, I guess. This is the ultimate. Are we just going into this now? We're just going.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. This is the ultimate spoiler army. This is the ultimate. I am here just to make 3 of my 5 opponents' lives miserable and prevent them from winning the tournament.
Do I want to win the tournament or do I want to beat the streamer?
Yeah, no, literally, it's like that. And then, yeah, there are some deployments, there are some matchups where you are completely screwed. You can't do anything, and like best of luck to you. And then furthermore, in teams, these are when everyone was like, "Oh my god, the X-Force is such a good blocker army." This is the blocker army. Like you can it's almost impossible to lose by more than like 500 points or 600 points in a lot of lists.
If you just put all of your points into
if you just have 1,000 points of Doomseekers and guys with Rune of Dishonored, it's almost impossible to lose by a bunch. So I think this, like, for that reason, this is like a B, just because it's like you take this to a tournament. Like, there's a few guys in where I play that play this, and like without a doubt, they're going 3-1 or sorry 3-2 or 4-1 at a 5-round tournament. Like without a doubt, they're almost never gonna win, but they're gonna like ruin a couple opponents.
Here's the thing, I disagree. I also lost to it, so I'm gonna put it in B. Just understand, if you're watching this, I don't want it there. I want it in C. But until I've beaten it at a tournament game, I guess I've just got to live with my mistakes. Hey, just gotta deal with that. Cool. Well, do you want to talk about vampire counts?
I mean, I guess like it's this is like the most like the FBI most wanted list, update comes out and like
Sure.
Jeffrey Epstein just got captured and it's like, oh, I guess I'm number one now, right? So not much has changed for them. They don't get to use their regen on unstable anymore. They weren't really doing the second rank stuff as much as a lot of other armies were.
Sure.
They kind of just inherit the title of this is the default army that you play if you're like I'm a bandwagoner, right? Like, oh, I'm playing these guys now. That I will say, I personally think it's a bit closer between this and Beastmen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people have this as number one, and I don't blame them for that. And like it's kind of just the same thing you were doing before. You've got Hex Wraiths are still good. They're a bit worse than they were before because now people are taking more magically stuff, and especially like if Beastmen are out there and other Vampire Counts players are out there, like a lot of the big strength of Cathay of the Cathay meta for them was that Cathay themselves, like you had to do some interesting things to like make it work against Hex Wraiths, and then furthermore, everyone was so hyper focused on how do I not die to cannonballs, dragonfire bombs, that they weren't really taking into account the ethereal stuff as much.
Yeah.
I've seen some people try Blood Knights again. I think Blood Knights just fall into the same problem as kind of like the Empire Knightly Orders situation. They're obviously better than like anything Empire can take in that list.
Yeah.
It's just you're in a situation where Beastman players are licking their chops that you're taking 40-point models that with armor saves, and they're like, "Oh, I get to kill this for free."
Sure.
Other Vampire Counts players are like, "Oh, I can scream this. I can, you can charge my Graveguard. You're not going to kill them all, and so on." Right. So, yeah. What more is there to say?
I think I like Blood Knights in like a singles style list where you're just like if you're specifically playing 20-0 as opposed to win-loss draw as your primary factor and you need to push for points, I think it is an easier way to push for more points, where you can 20-0 players. Blood Knights have the output there to give you the extra to push you need, whereas it's kind of hard to chase people down with more traditional vampire counts. But you're absolutely right. They are a lot more vulnerable to a lot of things that are very good. So probably one to avoid in a more like teams format. What I like about vampire counts in terms of like they are the really good is I think that they have a lot of matchups that are nigh unlosable. If you are, and I'm not saying this in terms of like ragging on vampire count players. I think if you want to play the best faction and you're a mediocre player, this is the faction for you because there is so much like the flaw on this army. It's very hard to do badly with it. It's much easier to do badly with Beastmen. If we're talking about which faction is harder to play, I feel like as long as you can manage the basics of don't get your general charged and don't allow multi-charges, like it's a lot harder to lose as vampire counts.
There is a lot of kind of like you're doing weird trigonometric puzzles of like, oh, this needs to be 6 inches from this, and this needs to be 18 inches from that, and this like there's a bit of like optimization to be had for like figuring out the deployment and the like how do I sequence this and how do I move this the right way and how do I get the most out of this and am I keeping all the important things in the res range and all those things. There is a lot of play to it. But that said, you're probably right. Like, if you're just showing up and you're like, "Oh, I'm just Joe Warhammer player," like this is a really good faction for you.
Yeah. And I'm talking about you still have like a base level of competence where you can do I need to keep things in the auras. Like if we're talking at the top level.
Surprised, man. You'd be surprised.
I wouldn't be. My job is to help people improve on that. And
Yeah.
you know, to be fair, there is like a level of brain drain that comes with playing undead because you have so much
Yeah.
just goldfishing where you're like, I have to do all of these actions at the start of my turn and make sure that I've not forgotten to do any of these things. Let's just talk Wild Herd then. While we, you know, we've talked vampire counts, let's put Wild Herd in there.
Get out of the way. Yeah.
I actually think Wild Herd have the best spread of matchups in that I don't know that there are any bad matchups in any of the good armies that they want to play into. I feel like you can play Beastmen into everything that we're going to put into S tier and A tier very comfortably. The difference is, I don't think it's necessarily like vampire counts have got some like 70 or 80% matchups where you're just like, this is really hard for me to lose. Wild Herd, it feels like, has less of those, but everything's like a 55 or a 60% win rate. That's my personal feeling playing into good players.
So I don't disagree in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. But the thing about Wild Herd is a lot more hateable than Vampire Counts is because
Really?
you know.
Sorry, as in like the items you can put in to beat it.
Sorry, yeah, in like
I was like,
the game theory
you know,
kind of way.
I think I hate
If you want
strange rules.
to beat Wild Herd,
Mhm.
you can. A lot of factions can just make a list that is like, I'm here to ruin your Beastman opponent's day. Right?
Sure.
You're
You
taking
put the
like I
Maw
said,
Shard in.
You're taking magic resist 3. You're taking Infernal Puppet. You're taking Maw Shard. You're taking all these things, and you're like, I'm not gonna get Vile Tided off. Or if I do, then congrats, opponent. You've rolled the 10 on 2 dice enough times that you win. Right?
Sure.
Like that's the kind of thing there is. And yeah, and then arguably Wild Herd is like a stronger list than Vampire Counts. It's just easier to attack from a list building standpoint than Vampire Counts is.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think where I want it to sit, I want it to sit behind Vampire Counts, but I think it's very 1S, 2S.
Yes. And then the one thing I'll say is, like I said before, those two things sitting on the top of the meta
Yeah.
means a lot of stuff for the rest of the armies. And it means the armies that have, I'm interested in taking my wizard anyway,
Yeah.
is a big deal now. Now it's like, oh, my wizard is actually good and it's not just I have to take it. Great. And then do I have stuff that like makes my dispelling better? Do I have good access to magic resist 3 or even like brazen collar is nice, but MR3 really like drives it home, right?
Yeah.
So if you're like chaos has that, any faction can take 3 lodestones, but like, there's some factions that get even, better ways of doing that. So yeah.
Sure. Great stuff. All right, over to you again. Warriors of Chaos, the Grand Army. Where do you rank the Grand Army?
It's kind of fine. Not a ton has changed for them as well. The new Marauder stuff, I think overall is kind of a side grade because it really changes like in the older version of the game, your Marauder Horsemen were a great thing to put when I say older, I mean like 1.3 version of the game.
Yeah.
You had your sorcerer in a Marauder Horseman unit, and he got +1 to cast, and he was doing all his shooting stuff. And then we kind of evolved into we're maybe not taking a sorcerer anymore, but the horsemen are still kind of the best core choice we can take. It all kind of comes back to it because they still are the best core choice you can take for the most part. They just have toughness 4 now, and they're ambushing probably, and they're skirmishing.
I feel like the best thing about the recent rules for Warriors of Chaos is it's pushed Warriors of Chaos players more heavily into playing Marauders, because they have rules that benefit them. It's like +1 toughness on a nearly naked model. That's pretty sexy. You're pretty happy to have +1 toughness. So that brings the win rate up, I would assume. I haven't looked at the stats, but surely that just makes Warriors of Chaos as a whole faction better because people are playing the better stuff.
I wish the Foot Marauders were better than they are.
I like them.
And
I
again,
think they're solid. They're not like Yeomen, but
compare it to an Orc Boy.
Yeah.
Like an Orc Boy is just better in almost every regard than
compare the Wyvern to the 3 dragons you can take in Warriors of Chaos. So like if we're doing apples to apples, like you're 100% right, they're not as good as an Orc Boy. But I'm like, I'll take that trade off.
Yeah, but again, the Wyvern is not really the calling card of the A tier Orcs and Goblins army, in my opinion. So for me, this is a B.
Sure.
It's a reasonable faction. You've got a lot of good options. As I said before, this is one of those armies that can really go and ruin a Beastman player's situation, so
Mhm.
you can tool up, you can get all your magic resist. I saw a list of Grand Army that had Forsaken by Zinch, who have MR3, and they had the Infernal Puppet, and he had Warfire Dragon that has MR, and he had like it was just like a I really don't want to lose to Beastman Army, and I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, makes sense.
Sure, sure. I think you don't even need to do that because you can just put MR2 on all of your units super easily. Like, yes, of course you.
Not Forsaken, other than the
Oh, sure, but
the Zinch thing. But
I
yeah,
don't see Forsaken as an actual unit in the current game personally. I don't. Yeah, they're super
whoa,
pricey. Like,
all right.
yeah, I'm not ever taking them. But like for me, Warriors of Chaos, I think it's just the best dragon army. So like, if you're doing dragons, Warriors is the way to do it. And the argument then comes down to is two dragons in Wolves of the Sea better because of the other stuff that they've got more valuable. But I think triple dragon with the Warpfire dragon, I feel like that is an army that maybe doesn't necessarily have a winning matchup into Vampire Counts and Beastmen, but at least you have play into it because you can just slam three dragons into the Death Stars, and having the magic resist gives you some protection against the issues there, and you've got the regen as well against the Vile Tide.
It's not enough. It's not enough. You need MR2 and or a +2 to dispel character is like kind of the floor for like playing against that and not getting wrecked, in my opinion. If you're taking double dragon, you just don't get that, right? So
You can take a bad dragon.
double character dragon. I
You
mean,
can take
sorry.
a T6, a T5 no regen wizard dragon, or it's T6 if you're a Toll, which is an old shot at this point. But yeah, I don't know. Like top of beef, I fine. We'll leave them there. I feel like they are closer to orcs and goblins than they are to dark elves. But I'm
Yeah,
not.
it's in that zone. Yeah.
Yeah. Wolves of the Sea. Then, do you find them to be better? I think they have a lot of advantages, but I think my personal bias leans me towards three dragons more than it does two dragons and the better core, the tougher core.
I think Wolves of the Sea is a better choice than Grand Army right now.
Mhm.
If you're playing in a 1v1 tournament. Yeah, the Berserkers are great. Toughness 5 is a big deal. The Horsemen are great in this army. The character restrictions in this army do force you to kind of go in a different direction. But I don't necessarily think it's like the wrong direction to go in because you can just take a Demon Prince with Puppet if you want, or you can take a Sorcerer Lord with Puppet if you want, and then you just have the same kind of thing going on.
Sure.
Not getting Warfire Dragon is a downside.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think this army is great. I think the builds that I've seen for this army that do well, I think definitely put it in the A tier situation where this is one of those armies that can compete with Vampire Counts and Wild Herd on the right day, like when the right things are happening. You can definitely win a tournament with this. It does have bad matchups too. So,
Mhm. Sure.
like against Bretonia, you're in trouble. But there's not a ton out there that like is licking their chops against this army when you build it right. So
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I think I want to move Grand Army up to A tier as well because I feel like it's just a step above the stuff that we've got in B tier, and like maybe there's an argument that you stretch out A, B, and C into like three tiers there where you've got a little bit more delineation. But I think with the three tiers there, it feels like a cut above the stuff that we've got in B, in my mind.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Heralds of Darkness. I think arguably just this exact same spot as Grand Army because you can build the same list.
It's like a touch worse because you have to have more core.
Yeah. But
Yeah, basically, it's like
basically the same.
it's worse than Grand Army, but like not by much. Yeah,
Yeah. So I think you can because especially if you feel like Marauder Horsemen are the best score, still got to take them. Still got to take Warhounds, which I'm a huge
they
fan of.
are.
Yeah.
They are the best core. I actually actively like Forsaken, but
Yeah.
The Horsemen are definitely the best choice. Hounds are like whatever, right? If that's a useful unit in your army, then it will be. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything, and it just makes your drops higher. So
Yeah, but it's the marching column vanguard, move blocking people in. I think that gives you a lot of power.
It's
Maybe not
sometimes
into the
good.
yeah. It's not necessarily good
Yeah.
into the stuff the stuff at the top. Although I don't hate it into vampire counts actually. Just being able to slow them
Okay.
down and try and stop them from getting the super early lead on strategic locations can be worth going for. Throw away 35 points to say get you 60 points, but yeah, they go into all of my chaos lists for sure. Maybe I should look at some lower drop lists, I guess, or just play Wolves at the Sea and not care about it.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
going first still really good, by the way. Going first is sick. That's a big reason why I like Wolves of the Sea.
Sure. Although it's harder for them to go first now, which is a real shame for that faction.
I've been actively making lists that don't have unit champions so that I don't lose the first turn against Wolves of the Sea with a few armies. So
I mean, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Demons. We've talked about some good chaos factions. What if we had one that was not good?
yeah.
I want to put them in F. I don't think
Yeah.
that's fair. I think you could maybe squeeze a C tier faction out of this in the way that you can squeeze like a C tier Skaven army out. But do we just put them in F because it's funny?
So like if you're playing just the PDF, no, it's hot garbage.
Sure.
If you play with Renegades, that has a couple things going for it then.
Yeah, I think that's a fair
to
point.
To be fair, this is one of those armies where you can really go anti-magic, if you really want to.
Okay.
So that's something. When the top two armies are really big magic armies, being able to say, oh, all your stuff gets like -1 from the standard, and then I have the Arcane Vortex, and I have MR, and all this stuff, makes it something. And like you get awards, like in the Renegade version, you get a ward save against the Scream, you get a ward save against the
Yeah.
Valtide.
I think if we're talking about it in the context of Renegades, I can see an argument for C. But Legacy, there's just too much stuff that they can't match up into, especially with the prevalence of magical shooting at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm fine with F. It's an outside shot, but like I don't think I've ever seen a Demons player win a tournament. So
no, fair. All right, cool. We've got the 3 Bretonnian armies here, and I think it's worth just kind of talking about these together. And I was talking to someone, an American, who said that in the American scene today, they don't really see Bretonnian exiles a lot. Do you get exiles players up your way?
So this is anecdotal, and like we've only had a couple tournaments in the last, like a couple reasonable sized tournaments in the last few months. But Bretonnia just disappeared, like for a while, like because they chased them out.
They hate me.
Yeah, it was just gone for a while. Like I think we had 0 at our most recent GT. So that said, I am quite high on Bretonnia right now. So I think if I get to play in a tournament, I'm probably going to bring Bretonnia. So.
Sure. I think they're incredible. I think they match up well into the top armies. Like obviously, Viletide, you hate getting Viletided, but there are ways around that. And also, if you've got Veteran, you've got the ability to deal with Screams to some degree. You can, if you want to, tech into them with magic resist and like really heavy magic resist and the banner.
And you do.
Virtue of the Impetuous Knight, obviously getting that extra range makes it a lot harder for a Viletide player to play into you because you can outrange them to a degree, although everyone's playing Steed of Shadows now. So I really like Bretonnians. I want to put one of the factions in S tier. For me, it's Exiles. I think Exiles are the complete package. You can play into Death Stars a lot better. You can take a Dark Magic caster. You've got very cheap reserve moving core in terms of scoring. Your core in general is just very good. I think the gap between Exiles, because previously I'd have said Exiles was the best, and the other 2 factions were, not even close. I think the gap has closed with the magic items that you got in the recent PDF, the Westerlands Arcane Journal.
Totem of Wrath.
Yeah. Totem of Wrath and Cackling Blade, I think, really closed the gap between the 2, because we didn't need a Monster Slayer, a heroic Killing Blow character, a Duke, that wasn't something that was necessary in the meta really for the last sort of 6 months or so. So having a second good melee character, whereas it was kind of only exiles that were able to do that, I think that's good. Also, the nerf to Royal Pegasus, I think, hasn't really affected how good
It
I
doesn't
consider
matter.
them to be.
No.
You know, I was talking with Vincent from Team Netherlands about going to Barded Pegasus anyway. I want to give him credit for thinking about it, because you save a lot of points and you rank up better in units. So you can, it's actually not bad at all to just drop down to the Barded Pegasus. And with Totem of Wrath, you definitely want to be inside units. So I personally feel like it's Exiles in S and the other two in A. Where do you stand on that?
That's like a reasonable take. I think personally, I think Exiles is better than the other two right now.
Cool.
I will say, so echoing kind of what you said about the Royal Pegasus nerf, I think that was probably the maybe not the dumbest thing, but it was pretty close to the dumbest thing in that new FAQ, because how do you bring out like a beloved new mini that like
Sure.
everyone bought when the new edition came out, and it's like, oh, this is such a cool mini, and everyone loves it, and it's in every army, and everyone has like 3 of them because everyone wants a Royal Peg character, and then a year and a half later, they're like, actually, you need to take them all off their bases now. Sorry, guys. It's such a silly move, because like they basically just delete it from the game. It's just gone. Like the Royal Pegasus is just gone. Right?
Yeah,
so,
I
like,
don't really
why
know
would
what
they use
the
this?
niche for it is, because the Hippogriff, if you're
There's
going for a monstrous creature, the Hippogriff's actually kind of good. Like, it's got
Hippo's
counter
okay,
charge. You know, I don't hate the Hippogriff. It's still pretty cheap.
But everyone knows the skirmish is what you're there for, right? Like that's why you're taking this mini.
Sure.
So it's just such a silly way to do it. Like I don't know. It really pissed me off. And yeah, it doesn't seriously impact like what the army does. You just you play the Bard of Pegasus, you save 40 points, and you move on. Right. So,
what do you think about Errantry Crusade and Grand Army? I have ordered them in the way that I think, but I'm interested to hear which of the two you like more.
I think Errantry Crusade is better.
Yeah.
You get Squires. Squires are great. I'm personally not. I haven't been impressed by the Grail Reliquary.
Sure.
I just don't think it's really useful. Yeah, I'm just
but
like
it's so
not,
much
not
cheaper
really
now. I am definitely going
like,
to consider putting it in lists.
Do you? My main quandary with it is like, do you really want to have your Duke nearby to this unit that's just there to be a 30-point, tugboat casher at the weekly, soup kitchen, right? I don't know. I can do that with really cheap squires in this army, so I'm like, why do I bother? Right?
Yeah, I think it's just, do you value having a static combat res brick in a way that, like, if you wanted Men at Arms or Human Guard, then this is like, it's just a little bit worse and a little bit more expensive, and it has some upgrades if you position it. I also don't know that I'm taking it. I think if I'm going Errantry Crusade, it's with a plan to specifically kill Death Stars. So I'm going some slightly bigger Knights Errant units.
Running a bunch of squires, and then I have a big Pegasus Knight unit, and that's the whole list, right? So, and then Grand Army doesn't offer a lot different than that. You have the Peasant Bowman, and you have the less core requirement to compensate for that, and then you're not impetuous, but like in today's game, veteran leadership 8 or 9 impetuous is not that big of a concern, right? So,
sure.
It's pretty similar. Like there's not a big gap between them. They're kind of like whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I agree. I think EC is a bit better. Having the veterans in this meta just feels very nice as well.
I will say it's odd to me. I was a very big Yeoman Guard enjoyer in 1.3. I played a lot of Yeoman Guard, and I won some tournaments with Yeoman Guard. And then I didn't really play them at all in 1.51 because I was like, oh, Cathay exists, and then I don't really want to play this army right now. And then in this version of the game, I don't like them anymore. I'm like, oh, why do I want this when I can just have mounted yeoman and peasant bowman?
God, I hope I've got the right brother. I want to give credit to Jack Toll, who I played at Masters, who has been playing 3 units or 4 units of mounted yeoman and also MSU peasant archers. And I was like, man, this is really hard to play against.
Yeah, that's the best way to play it. Yeah, that's like I played against him too, and I was convinced. I was like, oh yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah.
He was the first place I saw it, so definitely want to give him a shout out. And if he hadn't just full sent his Pegasus Knights on turn 1 into all of my Vile Ties as like a YOLO, it's game 5, Maybe it would have been harder to play.
So kind of the thing that goes with that saying with exiles though, and the reason why I wouldn't put them in S tier is because you know people aren't out there being staying up at night being like, oh man, how do I defeat the exiles army right now?
Sure.
It's the two that are at the top are the two that are at the top right now. The exiles army can be built to beat them, and like you can seriously tech, and like the other Bretonnia armies you can build to beat those two armies.
Yeah.
But unlike those two armies, there are bad matchups for exiles. You still don't want to fight against Nuln. You still don't want to fight against the Expeditionary Force, and then orcs and goblins can be a problem too. So like I'm hesitant to put them up there, but otherwise I agree. They're like in the serious contention. All three of those armies. Yeah.
Cool. We're going banger after banger. We've got a really good army here. Ogre Kingdoms.
Near and dear to my heart. This is when Old World returned. I built an Ogre Kingdoms army immediately, and they're always one of my favorite armies. I had ogres in my my Empire army when I was a kid, and in my Chaos army when I was a kid. So like I've always loved ogres, and then like around the time I started playing the game is when the Ogre Kingdoms army came out. I love ogres. They're not in a great spot. They don't have a lot of good magic defense options. They still suffer against Cathay for a lot of reasons. They still suffer against Bretonnia for a lot of reasons. They're slow and they, the Pegasus tends to get behind you. That said, this is another I'm playing a fair Warhammer army kind of army, and you have good units in your army. So this is not a knightly order situation. It's not a demon situation. It's like probably for me, it's on the same level as like Troll Horde, Dwarves, those kind of guys, where you can string together some games and win. And then if you dodge those really horrible matchups and like you build your list the right way, you can do okay. Are you going to win a tournament? Probably not, but you're not like ruining yourself by playing ogres.
Yeah, I think so, towards the top of C tier sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't put this in the same chance of winning as Empire even, but like you're not too far from that.
Sure. I was trying to build a list actually Sunday evening when I was lying in bed recovering from my I was like, oh, I just want to play. What if Thunder Tusks were good? And then I was
You're an addict, my friend. You're an addict.
Hey, it's not like I was writing Warhammer lists. I was writing ogre lists. One of them's a thing that I deal with on a real day-to-day basis, and the other one is a fantasy world where I will never, I'm going to be stood at the table playing wood elves, closing my eyes and pretending it's ogres. Never actually getting there. All right, the other two Beastmen lists. Beastmen Grand Army.
One thing.
Oh yeah.
One thing I want to say about ogres. Quick shout out. Noblar fighters continue to be like one of the best units in the game. So
why are they 2 points per model? Like, what's up with that?
Noblar fighters are just so sick.
Yeah, I was writing my list and I was filling out my core and I was like, but what if I just took another 40?
Yeah,
that's so cheap.
It's just sick. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. They are pretty solid. It's a shame they can't have the full command. They can only have a unit champion, but at 2 points per model, I'm kind of whatever about it, honestly. It's like, all right.
It's funny how the Groinbiter went from why would you ever do this to why would you ever not do this?
Sure.
It's like so good now, yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. All right. Grand Army, Beastmen. So obviously Wild Herd we rate very highly. I think Beastmen Grand Army is still a good army. Like, I'd put it on tier with like Orcs and Goblins. It's more fair Warhammer than Wild Herd, but I think it's just like what it's got is still very good, right?
So, okay, the real strength of the Beastmen army is in a very specific combination of things, and the more you disturb that very specific combination of things, you precipitously fall down in terms of power level, right? Like you've got the Hearthstone, you've got your Hagtree Fetish guy, you've got your reserve move, you got your Sea of Shadows or like whatever, right? Whatever movement option you prefer.
Yeah.
And then those things are like what make the army go. You can still do a lot of that stuff in the Grand Army. You're going to be worse than the Wild Herd, just in most respects, because like the +1 to cast is
inarguably. Yeah. But I think Wild Herd is so good and like so far above the A tier armies that I'm like, I think Beastmen is still A tier without the Wild Herd sprinkles on top, right? Because you still get the Redstone.
the +1 to cast from being Wild Herd is like that's the reason they're the best, like one of the best armies in the game, right? That's literally it, right? So without that, they have a +1 to cast, which is a lot of armies have +1 to cast. Very few have +2 to cast, right? So yeah,
You can still build in the Jagged Dagger if you want to go down that route. You know,
yeah. But then that guy doesn't have the Hector fetish, so
sure.
whatever, right?
You're only casting at +3 instead of +4, and you can take a power scroll if you want to, and there's no downside or less downside, and you just a normal miscast instead of a cascading miscast. I still feel like it's a very solid list. Where would you put them then?
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think it's like an A tier. I'm just saying, in the world where people are hating on Wild Herd, do you want to voluntarily make yourself just a worse version of that? Probably not, right?
I do love agreeing in an argumentative fashion.
That's the best kind.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's not. Beastman Bloodherd, though, now we're really cooking with not good. You can't take any good casters. You want to play Minotaurs. Minotaurs did get a cut though. You know what? To be entirely fair, I have not reassessed my opinion on Bloodherd post the small cut on the points of the Minotaurs. I still think it's bad. Matter. Yeah. I think funny enough,
it's like troll horde level. Yeah, it's like it's not a complete and utter failure. It's just like this is not setting yourself up to win. And arguably, I think Ogres is just this, but better.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think Ogres does a better job of Minotaur Herd. What is funny is, and I don't know how much stock I put in this because of the relative power of the army, but the people were talking about it as like do we take this as a counter to vampire? Like, not necessarily vampire count, but like undead. Because they can churn through the undead. They have a good stat line to get through them there. I still don't think that makes them good, but it is funny that, theoretically, you're going to win more games. Like, it's going to be the highest win percentage into vampire counts out of all of the C tier factions.
Ogre Kingdoms kind of has the same thing. Ogre Kingdoms, in some ways, Ogre Kingdoms is kind of better at doing that because their Iron Gods have veteran. They've got Mournfang, which really mess up Graveguard.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, so like those kind of armies, yeah, that is true. It's just neither of these armies can really, dispel stuff. And if you want to, you got to pay like 300, 400 points to do it, right? So I don't know. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Lizardman Grand Army, and remember, this is not Legacy. This is just baseline. So the thing that I've seen everyone doing since Renegades is putting a Slann inside a unit of Tomb Guard and not taking any baseline Saurus. I don't know. Base Lizardmen feel pretty sad right now.
It's like okay. It's like again, it's like I'm not excited to play this. You can do some, anti top tier army with this a little bit, but it's worse than a lot of the other stuff that's out there right now. Skinks are still solid. Like if you're talking about like your soup kitchen strategic location guys, skinks are like among the best that you can get for that purpose. Yeah. But that's kind of where the army starts and ends. So this is not a disaster. It's just like a kind of a weak option. I think it's a C. Yeah,
I think that's fair.
And I shout out to a guy in one of my group chats who is just the biggest Lizardman fan ever, and it always brightens my day when he's like, "Man, I think the Slan Mage Priest should be a level 5 wizard and have all these things." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, you're right."
Sure, buddy. Like, why not? Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. Oh no, we've reached Wood Elves. Wood Elves are, I think, simultaneously not as good as people want them, not as good as people want them to be, and not as bad as people think they are. But they're still not good. Like that's you have to work real hard to get value out of it. But they have some shining stars. I saw a comment that I didn't get around to responding to, but someone on one of the live streams, like post live streams, just left a comment saying, you were bigging up talking about how, going heavy on stags was the truth, and as soon as you have to play a tournament, you drop that idea and go for a dragon. Has the meta maybe fucking changed since then, dickhead? Have we maybe had 2 fucking FAQs since then, dickhead? What are you talking about? The world doesn't change without, doesn't exist without change. Don't actually think he's a dickhead. But like, come on, man. Things might be different to when I said that prior to the 1.5 FAQ. Anyway, just wanted to get that off my chest.
I think Wood Elves are like an okay army. They're like fine. You can do dragons. You can do some interesting dodgy stuff. I think it's better than Dark Elves. It's like the same kind of thing as them. It's just the rest of your roster looks a bit better.
Yeah.
I think the Wood Elf Dragon is still a good mini. Evasive is good when people's primary thing is I shoot you with something, right? So
yeah, I think that you were talking about how if you want to do well, you need Magic Resist and +2 to Dispel Caster. You can't do that with Wood Elves if you're going for the double dragons. So that is a knock on them there. I think emotionally I want Dark Elves to be higher, but I don't know that I would say that they are.
You've got the Oakenstave, right? Like you can take one dragon, you can take the Oakenstave wizard. I mean, you can just put MR on your dragon if you really want to, right?
Oh yeah, if you take one, not if you take multiple.
You need the wizard.
So you're talking just going a single dragon, not going double dragon. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Sorry, I thought we were talking about in terms of double dragon.
No, I think right now that is just not a good idea because the top 2 armies are like, oh, you didn't take a wizard, great, and then a lot of the next level armies are like, you have big things that I can shoot with my D3+1 wounds, great, right? Like those.
I think the argument then comes down to: do you write a list to try and beat the things that you know you're not going to beat anyway, or do you just double down on what makes the list good and you just go, hey, let's go double dragon and have a better time into some of the mid-table armies and just like go for that, like hunt that 4-1, and if I somehow get a blessed run and no one brings like all the Beastman players and Grand Vampire Count players knock each other out, do we maybe look at that's the path to victory?
I think the game theory answer to that is you just play the best thing. But like I think the kind of like next best game theory thing is you play something that has a game plan to beat the best thing, right? And then is not seriously compromising their army in other situations, right? So like that's how I feel about Exiles. You can game plan to beat the best 2 armies and play a reasonable game against most other things. And like that's how I feel about a lot of these other lists. What else can do that too? Like I'm saying, yeah, you can make a reasonable army. I think you're just worse off than some of these A armies.
Oh yeah. I think putting them next to Dark Elves feels about fine for me.
Yeah,
I've put them ahead. I want Dark Elves to be further ahead. I think I like Dark Elves more, but I don't know that I have a strong opinion on where they are.
I think the rest of the roster of Wood Elves, just before we move on, the rest of the roster of Wood Elves is so much better than Dark Elves. It's wild, right? It's like Wild Herd, but yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Wild Hunt.
Yeah, Wild Hunt. It's just a funky version of the main army. You can do some fun stuff with a guy with Cackling Blade and Totem of Wrath in the Wild Riders, which is kind of funny.
Or you can put it in Sisters of the Thorn, so you have one threat that isn't going to run away uncontrollably.
Yeah. Frenzy is in a tough spot. It's worse than the Grand Army.
Yeah. I think that's fair to say. Like, yeah. I have touted it as the way to play Wood Elves for a while, but I think with what we have, it's just not. Like, it's got the raw power, so like, if any army that Wood Elves has an actual chance of killing vampire counts, I guess it's Wild Herd, but I think you can probably beat like a bad to mediocre vampire count player. I don't know how you ever get the pieces into position against a good vampire count player. Like, is the problem that I'm seeing in terms of actually cracking it outside of just math hammering the raw numbers for Wild Hunt, sorry.
If they just take like a unit of Fellbats or like a unit of something that your guys have to charge, there
They're
goes the
like,
game plan. It's
oh,
over. Right.
what's the base size of Felbats? It's like 40 or 50 mil. Is that less than 3 inches? You lose your Furious Charge? That sucks, buddy. So sorry to hear that. Yeah, that is one argument against Exiles with the dark magic for sure. But yeah, we can put them probably, I would say, same tier, but just at the bottom of the same tier, right? Like for the same reasons where like you still beat up on some of the bad armies because you've got the raw power there.
Yeah, it's again, it's not like a ton different. It's just you have some like funkier units, and then sometimes that works out really well for you, and sometimes it doesn't. So
sure. Host of Taliesin.
It's similarly like kind of samey. It's just worse.
Yeah, you can't take
so
the mounted units, and I think the mounted units
are
for
the
me
good ones.
are the good ones. Yeah. So I mean, I'm just going to put it in C tier. You can still take the dragons, so that's cool.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed my unit of dryads that I took over the weekend. They felt like a unit that, and now I'm going to be like, hey, they were only 12 points per model or something. They're super pricey. But in terms of if you're playing Wood Elves and you want something to sit on a point and have a level of durability, I did like them from that perspective. And Host of Taliesin can run them, so that's fun. But yeah, all of the other stuff that I wanted to run in not core or special doesn't exist there.
Noteworthy. Someone in Nottingham like loves Wood Elves because this is like they just randomly got a bunch of minus points options that like are never going to matter. But
sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I should have a look at how much I saved in my list that I ran this weekend. It probably got me an extra like 2 or 3 elves. So that's cool. That's something.
I really feel like that should have happened with like 9 out of 10 factions. Is like Warriors of Chaos. The actual Warriors of Chaos unit should be like that. And like, there's so many armies that are like, why is this that many points? Like, what?
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen like a points rebalancing. So like, if they did these things that they did to hit the top level, and then they also just went all of the bad stuff, he is like a point per model off. It probably doesn't like make a huge meta change, but but it's like a nice people.
Bone. Yeah. It feels like they started that and they were like, all right, let's start at the bottom of the alphabetical order, and then we're like, oh, time to release the FAQ, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I actually think if they didn't have, I don't know what their level of resource in terms of they've got for game balance testing is at the moment, but if they didn't have the resources, I almost, and it's so easy for me to sit here and say this because I wouldn't be the one getting flack for it, but I almost rather that they just like go and they go, I think these units need a point count. I'm just going to give them all -1 point per model. I'm not even going to play test it, but I'm just going to be like, these are the things that people aren't playing. Let's just make them slightly cheaper. And if that, unbalances the game, we'll fix it in post. That would have been a fine approach, I think. But here we are.
Yeah.
Chaos Dwarves. I really respect Chaos Dwarves. But again, I only play against very good Chaos Dwarf players. I think they're A-tier army.
I don't know if A is correct. So Chaos Dwarves, so unlike a lot of other armies in the game, Chaos Dwarves can really make an army that is to Wild Herd.
Sure.
Because especially if you're playing Renegades, where the Infernal Castellan and can ride the Taurus and get the toughness 7. Just being immune to Viletide with like 1,000 points of your army, and then another 500 points of your army is Hobgoblins that are like, I don't care if you Viletide this, go for it. That's like a really solid army, but you are going to get stomped into the dirt by Vampire Counts, and you are going to get stomped into the dirt by Cannon armies and Exiles and some of these other things out there. So I think it's tough to be A, but it's definitely a B. And I love Chaos Dwarves. I'm a Chaos Dwarf guy too. I have an army, and they've always been one of my favorites.
Given that you've played them more than me, I mostly just play against them. I think the problem is the armies that I like playing skew quite poorly into Chaos Dwarves, and that might be a personal bias I have. They play pretty well into dragons, in my experience. They play pretty well into some level of Bretts, because they can, the T7. Depending what you're going with, I think the Renegades version plays better into them. If you've got like the T7 Torok running around with this 360-degree charge not coming out of your character bonus.
T7 Torok? Oh, geez.
Hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If you're doing it, do it properly, eh? Give it a charm shield.
I like this Torok a lot,
yeah. So, yeah. Okay, we'll put it in B for now. Okay.
It's like in the same league as X-Force Nuln, where like you can be a really big pain in the butt for some of these top armies, but some of these other ones are going to beat you. So
We've got an army that I think is a really interesting discussion as to why Tomb Kings aren't as oppressive as vampire counts. And you can point out some very obvious things. But I think one of the main reasons is that Tomb Kings as a faction can do everything. And they can play into every army. They just can't do it all within the same army list. You have to specialize. And I think that really hurts them as a faction, which is interesting. So I think now that Chariots have had a points cut, they are the most S tier army in the game, and we should just put them there and leave them.
I mean, yeah. And I mean, it's not. Are we talking the whole faction or just the Grand Army right now?
Starting just let's talk about them all together, because I think there's a lot.
They're kind of holistic. They're kind of all one big block
exactly,
to me.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah. So shout out to taking as many single chariots as you want, thanks to the GWFAQ. I think that's like kind of sweet. And I think shout out to taking 10 Tomb Scorpions from Orc Cult, because that's also kind of sweet.
Yeah, that does something for sure.
Neither of those are necessarily the way you want to be playing your army, but I think it would be fun to see that at a tournament every once in a while.
I was half considering playing it on stream at Saffron Slam.
Hell yeah!
And just be like,
dude, if you had 50 Tomb King chariots and you were just ready,
not the chariot version, the Tomb Scorpion version.
Oh, the Tomb Scorpions. Yeah. If you just have 10 Tomb Scorpions, I would love to see that.
Yeah, I don't know how it really plays into any good armies.
Not well.
You just like you pull the lever and you're like, hey, if you got dragons, okay, cool. Let's hope that I get Monster Slayer this time.
Monster Slayer!
Let's hope that you somehow let me charge you, which I guess with 10 Scorpions becomes more difficult for the dragon player to avoid. Normally what happens is you get charged and you die when the dragon charges you before you get to roll those Monster Slayer attacks, but hey, if I just layer them, then maybe there's something we can do there. So Grand Army. Let's start with Grand Army. I feel like outside of the weird skew lists, which are more meta dependent, Grand Army feels to me like the place to be. I think you can do the best with that, although they did take a nerf to the Monster Mash list where you can't put Armor of Ages on your general anymore on the back of a dragon. So that's, I mean, it's not necessarily what I was looking to do, but I think it's...
Phil Carl Kazandu list is in rough shape for that, because that was like the main reason to play that army.
Yeah.
And I think even Phil has moved off that list now, which is sad because he played that for like 2 years. So
sure.
I actually fully disagree. I think Royal Host and Mort Cult are both better than Grand Army right now.
For the Icon of Rakaf Death Star.
Yeah.
Do you not just do that in Grand Army and have the other benefits as well? Or do you specifically want to be...
I love the casket. Like, the casket is one of my favorite minis. So, yeah, like, I agree. Like, the Grand Army being able to take that with the casket and with some of the other things is good.
Yeah.
I just think... so, kind of the... I have, like, a million skeletons style armies are still reasonable for Royal Host 2. Mm-hmm. As far as, like, which one is the better Rakaf army... it's tough to say. They're pretty similar, and like maybe you're right that the Grand Army is better, because like I agree that the casket is super strong.
Yeah,
and you get your Necker Sphinxes and stuff too.
That's what I'm thinking. I think it gives you like a better like in a single specifically. Yeah. I think that gives you more play into a wider field.
My gut reaction was that like I'd seen more Royal Host armies doing that than Grand Army ones, but maybe it's just something I'm not considering. Mort Cult definitely still has a place, though. Mort Cult still kind of has that spoiler effect where, like, you take Ushabti and then someone, like, certain armies are just like, oh shit. Like, you're playing Pegasus Knights and then your opponent lines up 10 Ushabti, you're like, fuck.
It beats Brett's, for sure. But, like, if we're looking at the top, that like there, it doesn't beat Vampire Counts. It doesn't beat Beastmen. Wild Herd. It doesn't beat Orcs and Goblins, I would say, because although I think it's a pretty drawish matchup there, because like you also just don't die to the Orcs and Goblins.
You're happy to play Orcs and Goblins with.
Yeah,
you're like a defensive army and you're shooting and stuff. Yeah,
and so are they. So it's a 10.
But you regen, you come back.
But they can maybe snipe your general. So, like, do you die to the Doom Diver? If yes, do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah.
In Warriors of Chaos, I feel like it's okay in 2, but if the Warriors of Chaos is Wolves of the Sea, that they can bring numbers that you struggle with in terms of the spam there, and also going first kind of sucks because they can just get off the board.
Yeah.
And 3
Berserkers
dragons
are a big problem for
Yeah,
Markle.
100%.
Like, what are you going to do about that? Yeah.
3 dragons, I think, is also just too many for the Ushabti spam to be happy about. Because, like, you definitely kill at least one of them. Do you kill the second one? Maybe not. Once they're in there, in my experience, it doesn't matter if you get to, like, 2 wounds with your dragon, because when you're in combat, that's kind of it. You just don't die.
Yeah, once you're in melee with Ushabti, the game is over. Yeah, it's like, that's it. Yeah. So all of these options, I think, are A tier. They're all like good. Yeah, they're like, which one is better will depend on like what your exact build is and like what other people are playing.
Sure.
They are like one of those armies where you are not really teching to beat the best ones. You are like trying to punish the people who are trying to beat the best ones.
Yeah.
So I don't usually recommend that if I'm trying to give you advice on like what to bring to a tournament. But you know, some people just like their bony boys and they're gonna run them anyway. So
I have a load of Ushabti, just like some resin ones from a company that was selling them at like a really cheap price. I was like, I'm just gonna pick these up. Because at some point I'll want to run 18 Ushabti, so I should have them ready to go. I haven't done that, but maybe I should bust them out at some point. I just want to very quickly address a point in chat. Peter says, everyone but Dwarves got a big step up since Trailblazer's Hallback on a champion gives an infantry block scout, which is a massive boost. It doesn't do that, because you don't attach characters to units in the pre-game. And also, if it did, I also don't know that would give armies massively a step up, unfortunately.
It also just gives the unit... It gives the mini scout. It doesn't give the unit they've joined scout.
Yeah.
So you run into that situation where like, does the character in this unit give it to the unit? And I don't think the answer is yes. So, yeah. So unfortunately, yeah.
Cool. All right, we got there. We got to the big one.
It's funny that High Elves. Do you want to do High Elves first?
Yeah, sure. Let's do High Elves.
Well, more to talk about with Cathay.
Sure. Okay, so Seaguard Garrison, I think we just put in F, right? And we don't have to talk about it much. It's in Moondragon tier.
So, again, I'll finally reveal my true power level here.
Okay.
The Seaguard Death Star is like, okay, it's like fine. You can just play that style of army, and you're going to be, you know, the 4th or 5th best Death Star army in the game, but you're a Death Star army, so you have all the same benefits of that. They have a lot of advantages. They have a lot of good stuff going on.
When you say Death Star, are we talking?
You take a whole bunch of Seaguard. You put in the special character. You put in a Handmaiden. You put in a Wizard. You know, you're getting Earthen Ramparts. You're getting those kind of things, and then you're just trying to be a unit that doesn't die, and you can still take a dragon on top of that.
Not a good one. No, can you take dragons in Seaguard? I think that's...
Oh, maybe not in this list specifically. So maybe I'm just full of shit.
You're talking about the Seaguard Death Star, but in Grand Army.
Perhaps, yeah. Sorry.
Maybe sure.
But I've seen that army do actually decently at a tournament. And
I haven't. I would love to see a list. If you can find the one that you're talking about, I'd love to see that. We don't have to do it now. I'm just like professionally curious because I've
the actual army list. Like if it's true that if you're not taking the big dragon, then this is just a worse version of the normal one.
Sure.
And like I think High Elf Grand Army is also like a B. It's like similar to the other 2 elf armies where it's like, you know, you can still do kind of the same thing.
Yep.
Your core guys are worse than the Dark Riders and they're worse than the Glade Riders, but they're more or less the same thing. Right? I think the Reavers are better than the Silverhelms now, but either of those 2 units are like fine, right? And you just have 2 dragons and then some other minis.
Sure. I would personally put it the 3rd of the elf armies, but I think they're touching. Like I've got them all now.
Yeah, they're similar. Yeah, they're in the same league. The Shratian Warhost, the Woodsmen are like good-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do I like them more than Reavers? Maybe.
Oh yeah. I think
they're similar.
So. Yeah.
They're similar. Well. Like it's like it depends what you want, right?
Yeah.
Like if all you're interested in is the custodians of the strategic locations, I think Reavers are better because
Mhm.
Reavers are just faster and they can just dodge stuff. Um, if you're actually interested in the shooting and like the melee, obviously the Thracian guys are better. But it's like kind of samey. It's like which one do you prefer, and then you get kind of the same army otherwise. I think with that list. Um, and then yeah, so Seaguard Garrison. Having looked at the PDF or at the PDF again, yeah, it's a step below.
Sure.
So probably C. It's you can still do like some of the same things. You're not gonna you're not gonna do well. Although, like, I guess like if our criteria for like if you are playing this, you're like actively sabotaging yourself, it probably is an F then by that metric.
Sure.
Because like it's basically just worse than the Grand Army. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to end it. On Seaguard specifically. Yeah, because
Yes.
Trace and Warhost. I feel like I want to put Trace and Warhost in A, but I'm also looking at the armies in A, and I'm not sure that it plays into any of them like super well. Is the problem?
No. Yeah, it doesn't. It's
Plays
it's
into
kind
Orcs
of
and
in the
Goblins
same
well,
boat, right? Yeah.
so
Ish.
that's cool. You know, that's
Ish.
my metric for whether an army's good. Can it beat Orcs and Goblins?
I mean, like even your guys don't like to see fanatics. They're still 13-point guys who have
The
toughness
woods.
3.
You know, I'm just gonna sit behind a wood and make it hard for you to interact with me. And
I guess.
yeah, like I'm not worried about that matchup. You know, I feel like I should beat a wood elf, an Orcs and Goblins player with Tracing Warhost and Double Dragon. But like that's not a metric for actual strength. I'm not saying that makes me an A tier
That's
army.
fair.
So I think B tier, but high up in B tier, I think is fair.
Yeah, I'm in like in the same league as some of these other ones. I think it's probably a touch below the shooting guys, like the Null and the X Force and the Chaos Dwarves, but it's like in that same zone. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's round it out. Let's put Renegade Crowns somewhere on this tier list.
Sure.
I still think they're okay. I still think that they are better than Empire if you want to play dudes like dudes.jpeg.army. I just don't know that. Like, I was so hopeful. I was like, I feel like they have play. I feel like I can do things with them, and I hope that the next FAQ makes them better. And it just didn't touch them at all. So I want to put them towards the middle bottom of B.
So sadly, and I say this with great consternation and great like regret. I've played a lot of Renegade Crowns. I'm building a Renegade's Crown and painting a Renegade Crowns army right now
Sure.
of my halflings, and I was so excited about this. I love Dogs of War. I love all this stuff. This is just worse Empire.
Worse Empire.
So it is, right? It is
But
because
the core's really good compared
yeah,
to
but
Empire.
like who cares? Who cares, right? Because
Me,
like
I stand for
you're
objectives. I stand for objectives.
yeah, but you can stand on objectives with like 5-point skeleton skirmishers or 5-point.
All right, if we're talking about actually
whatever,
good armies here, then we're not talking about.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not exciting. It's not exciting to have a good unit that collects their paycheck every week. You know what I mean? Like, it's like fine. And like it turns out that this is one of the armies that was heaviest hit by the second rank. You retire now change, right? Because this was an army where you were 4 wide. That means basically you can only ever have one character in a unit now if you're going 4 wide. Unless you like, if you don't care about them like losing all their benefits, right? It's like, yeah. So that it kind of dumpstered my strategy of putting a few characters in one unit and then moving to the second row and doing some interesting stuff, because now your Griffin Standard guy has to go in the front and he gets mulched. Your Wizard has to go in the front and he gets mulched. And there's just not much positive to say for them, unfortunately. Like the cannons are still good, the Outriders are still good. The Doomseeker is still good, but like I'm just the Phalanx unit just took such a mega hit from that change that like for me this is just an F now, unfortunately.
No,
like,
there's
I
no
love this
way
one.
it's F. Like that's not a serious.
It's just worse Empire. It's just worse Empire. You don't get the good units of Empire. Right?
I'll meet you in the middle and put it in C, but it's not an F tier army. Like I feel like you could go 3-2 with Renegade Crowns. I don't know that you can go 3-2 with Seaguard Garrison or Knightly Order, like in a realistic world.
Oh, I don't know, man. Like what are you what are you playing against? Like, what armies are you happy to see when you play Renegade Crowns? I've played like 20 games with them since then, like since we talked about it.
Mhm.
And it's tough. It's not easy to win games. You just don't have a lot of the, especially now with the your phalanx unit getting the crap kicked out of it, right? But
Just to walk back on the phalanx. Your issue with it is that you can't put characters in the second rank, and that's the only difference that makes it worse. That's what you're saying.
that's a mega change for them, yeah. Because now, before, your Griffin Standard guy was just invulnerable because he just hid in the second row and was never able to get touched, and now he just gets killed every combat.
So I hear what you're saying with that in terms of like it's harder to keep him safe, but to do that you already had to put how many characters in the unit to get there? Like I don't know that
Just
I
him.
was.
Just him.
But
With drilled, or not even with drilled, with
so,
just redressing the ranks, you could get him to the back and then move him to the second row once the fight starts.
so what? So you have to start the unit one wide to get there.
No, wait, the way you do, so like before the changes, the way you would play this was you would start the game one wider than you actually want to be, so you would
Okay.
be 5 wide. You would have your BSB as one of the minis in either the furthest left file or the furthest right file, and then the first thing you would do in the game is I redress the ranks. That file that my BSB is in is going to be one of the ones that gets moved to the back, and then the BSB is one of those minis that gets moved to the back. Is how you would do that.
Not an interaction that I've looked into, so I'm not gonna debate that one.
That was
doesn't feel
that was
right.
like all over. It is so like I've played a lot of tournaments and I've had a lot of events with this involved. That was how it played before. Now, obviously, if you do that, your character just doesn't count for anything. It's just a body back there, and even then, is it even a body? I'm not even sure. But yeah, it was great, and now it is no longer possible to do. So
Hmm.
yeah.
I wasn't ranking it based on that anyway. But anyway, I think Renegade Crowns is not why we're here. Let's just leave it in sea, languishing amongst
Sad, sad. Yeah.
its friends. Like Lizardman, and talk about the one that we're definitely going to disagree on. This is where I want to argue with you, which is
Sure.
Cathay. And I think we can talk about them both together because how much difference is there between Grand Army and Jade Fleet?
Uh, this is a touch risque, but that notion will soon be very different. So this will be outdated in a week or two.
In the world we live in right now, what's difference between them?
Yeah. Not a ton. Not a ton. Like the Jade Fleet is mostly better. It just has more things.
Sure.
And especially in the world where like people are still saying you can only ever take 2 Sky Lanterns or whatever. Kind of one of the main draws of Grand Army is if your general is a magistrate or strategist, you can take a 3rd Sky Lantern, right?
Sure.
In your army, not just the characters, right? So with that excluded, Jade Fleet is basically just better. Like there's not really any difference between them, right? So now as to like where they fit in on this, so it's kind of tough to say because again, this is one of those things where it's going to depend a lot on like where you're playing and who's your TO. Because if you play this army as written with no additional comp now that they've been nerfed fairly significantly, I think this army is a really strong army still. Like there's still some choices in this army list that are like some of the best things you can do in the game. Some of the weaknesses that they have been accentuated by the nerfs. Like their unit roster is so narrow. Like they have like almost nothing to take, and like most Cathay lists are going to look pretty similar. Like you're going to have your Jade Lancers, you're going to have probably a Shigangan or 2. You're probably going to have Sky Lanterns. You're probably going to have cannons, right? Like those kind of things are going to be in almost every Cathay list. There's a couple people out there who are playing like no cannon with the Empire captains in their mercenary slot, and like that's a valid way to play. I think the cannons and I think the Sky Lanterns are still the way to go, but yeah. So if you're playing in a situation where it is unrestricted further than it is in the book, I think this is S still. It's definitely beneath the top 2. It's like
I think
I
it's
almost want like another tier between, because that would be, I think it's better than any of the A's, but not better than any of the S's, right?
yeah,
And like I don't rank these differently. I think Jade Fleet and Grand Army are basically the same right now, so I don't
yeah,
think
I
it
agree.
matters,
Yeah,
right? And then if you're playing in a situation where people are like still saying like, oh, you can only ever take two, or like for Sky Lanterns,
mhm.
then this is an A tier army, and it's beneath a lot of the first like cohort of them. Like I take Exiles, I take Orcs and Goblins, I take Wolves of the Sea, I take even the other two Bretonnian armies. I take Tomb Kings over this without like with those big nerfs in play. So why don't you tell me why I'm ridiculous for saying this?
Well, I think the only thing I really disagree with you is that I don't think balloons are something that I want to take a lot of. I'm not opposed to taking like one or two, but you're running a list right now in Pasha's event, which has
Yep.
5 Sky Lanterns with
Yep.
crane guns. And I think that's
Yep.
very interesting. And it's not at all how I would build the list. I'm a big believer in the Shigengan spam list. I think that's very, very good. And I think that is up there. And maybe arguably that is an A tier army as opposed to S. But I just don't see the crane gun spam as being something that plays like does it beat Vampire Counts and Beastmen? Like, are we worried about the crane gun spam there?
So the Vampire Counts army, it ultimately depends on, is their general a Mortis engine, and if so, you win.
Which it
And then if the
hasn't been for
general
the
is not
last
a
8
Mortis
months.
engine, you lose.
Yeah, like
Yeah, so
everyone's been
that's
making
kind
the
of how
right
it is.
choice.
Yeah.
Sure. So like it doesn't beat
Yeah.
Vampire Counts because that's not something that people do.
However, again, that's liable to change now, because now if people are not taking, my game plan is to shoot you off the board every turn as like the primary army. Maybe the Mortis in general becomes more interesting of a choice, right? So it depends on that factor. Wild Herd, you're not in great shape, but like you're not dead, right? And it also it depends. Are they still taking their -1 to hit stuff? Are they still taking all these things? Because if they are, Bretonnia is coming for you, and like some of these other armies are coming for you, and they're going to punish you for wasting those magic item points on something that you didn't really need anymore. And then if you don't take them, yeah, I'm going to shoot you with 25 crane guns, and I'm going to kill your unit over the course of the game, right? And like you're not going to be in range to Vile Tide me, right? Like, the crane gun strategy has not changed since the beginning of the Cathay thing. What has changed is one, if you're allowed to actually play that army now, because before no one let you actually play that army because everyone was anti Sky Lantern for good reason. Like it was done before, right? And it's basically the same. Like it's like my list from the beginning of the edition, I'm like, oh, I actually get to play this now, hooray! Or like when Cathay first came out, because I was like, I think everyone eventually is going to play the crane gun list, because the crane gun list beats the bomber list from like the original version of Cathay.
Okay.
Because the crane guns just have good range, and you just beat them, you just shoot them down before they get to you, right? So, and if you have the Icon of Heavenly Fury, which is another item that got a huge nerf, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So
Good.
Talking.
It's in line with all of the rest of them now, right?
Oh, it's way worse than most of them now, because there's
because
no
you've got to
veteran.
take it on the unit standard bearer.
Yeah, there's no veteran. The
Sure.
best you can do is leadership 8. Because it's an unmodified leadership check. You don't get the wins. You don't get even your Miao Ying guys. That's a modifier. You don't get that bonus, right?
Sure.
So leadership 8 once per game. I'm kind of never taking this ever again, right? Like the Falcon Horn and the other the Arch Lightning Rod and even the Beastman one you can take on a veteran mini.
Sure.
Right. So do I ever want just merely a leadership 8 chance? I don't know.
I personally, right now, don't massively value any of the items that turn off fly because it's a once per game item.
I think, yeah, I agree. I've been off them since that change, but at least the Cathay one was like you always get it. There's no chance involved. It's like if this is your strategy, you can do this. It's like a tech piece. Now it's like, well, if you take this, in 2/3 of the games it'll work, and then in 1/3 it's just a waste of points, right? So,
yeah. I'm still not sold on the crane guns, but I will say, outside of seeing your list, I haven't tested it, and I haven't put like a lot of thought into it. But it just doesn't to me look like it. You know what it does beat? Fucking ruins Bretonians. So if Bretonians become the big bad,
It
So,
does. The
like,
dumpsters Britonia, it's really good. And even the shooting mirror match games, you're still really good.
yeah.
Right? Like you have just more weight of firepower. You can just shoot their war machines down. You still have great cannons. Yeah.
You know
Like
what?
I played a game against dwarves in that Pasha's tournament,
Mm.
and I had like bottom 5 or bottom 10% dice, and I still got a draw. Right? Like they went first, my cannons did nothing, my crane guns did very little because my dice were just horrible, and I still got a draw. Right?
Truly,
Like it was like, okay.
truly, I am looking for a faction that one day will beat dwarves. I'm yet to find it.
True.
But
We'll manage a draw against the X-Force, the boogeyman. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. And then,
Yeah.
and then like I said, the other way of playing with the monsters is like fine. The one thing I'll say about so like something you said a few times was, X is like a good dragon faction. The Shigangan are just dragon lords, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's really all they are, right? So I think Cathay is the best dragon faction.
Yes, I
Right.
agree.
And
Because
it's fitting. It's fitting because like, that's their flag and like that's their kind of identity is they're the dragon guys, right?
yeah,
Um
I think they're the best
as far
dragon
as
faction, but they don't take Mao Ying. That's my take on it.
Miao Ying has kind of taken a back seat for a little bit, and like I foresee that she will continue to take a back seat for a little bit because of some of the new units. So like for instance, one of the big reasons to take Miao Ying is she makes your core guys like a little bit less repugnant. Like they're like, oh, they're good leadership, they got a ward save, those kind of things, right?
Sure.
And then if it's like, oh, instead of that, I can just take a bunch of peasants now, then her value to do that is kind of lost, right? So, and then the Shigangan right now makes a little bit more sense. I'm not as high on the Monkey King guy as you are, and it's for a lot of the same reasons that I think anyone who's trying to do magic stuff that isn't getting +4 or whatever to cast is going to be in for a rough time because a lot of these armies are going to be taking every magic defense thing they can.
Sure.
So your Shigangan guy's probably not going to get his.
Although you are getting a conditional
Doppelganger
+1 for your spectral doppelganger, so like you are
Yes.
getting some level of bonus there.
Yeah, but +1 is pedestrian. +2 is where the.
I don't know if I agree with that because you're casting at +3.
I think, as far as like what else is out there, the Shigangan that guy is probably the best dragon dude out there right now.
Sure.
But as a category, like you said, they're not at their peak. Obviously, they used to be the rulers, and now they've fallen. But they're still good. Like as a category, like I still think like a lot of these armies we've said are good armies are good off the strength of I have a good dragon, and then yeah.
Sure. All right, cool. Well, I think we can put them in S, even if we just disagree with what the best list is, and it'll be interesting to come back in sort of 3 months' time and take a, just I'm not even saying I'm going to do this as a video. I'm just going to come back and look and see where we are. So there's a 50% chance you'll get a message and be like, I told you, and there's a 50% chance that you don't hear from me. You can send me the message in 3 months' time when you're right.
I just think that the current, like the status quo is people aren't going to be allowed to play my list anyway, so you won't really see it. People are still going to say, oh, you're only allowed 2 lanterns, or the character ones count towards the slots. So
yeah, I mean, maybe like I don't know that I feel like we need that. Maybe
I don't feel we need it either, but
yeah.
I just think that's the current like Adepticon is playing that way. So some of the tournaments in the UK are playing that way, from what I understand.
Now, I don't want to unfairly slander a tournament if I'm wrong, but isn't Adepticon the one that it's always had like it's a narrative tournament? You get points for paint score. They kind of do their own thing. Am I wrong with that? Am I unfairly maligning Adepticon?
I've never been. Never been. I was briefly considering going this year, and then politics happened, but. I'm just saying that's something I've heard. So that's the thing that's out there, and I've seen a lot of comps that are still holding on to their anti-Cathay comps because they want people to show up at their tournaments still. So,
Sure.
Yeah,
fair enough. All right, cool. Well, that takes us to the end. Thank you so much for joining us and joining me.
Cheers.
I think this is an interesting one. I will have to come back and have a look at this. It's always fun to do a speculative tier list because there will 100% be things in here that's like, ah, how did you, you'll come back in 3 months and be like, how did you not realize that nomadic war was actually the hard counter to vampire counts? God, like, it was so obvious. We knew it all along. You didn't know it all along. It's just in retrospect that, something sneaks through. I feel like whenever I do these, there's one thing that massively surprises me. So I'm very keen to see what it is that I've missed this time around.
That's one of the awesome things about this game, is that the creativity is there, and like there's always going to be someone who figures something out that maybe you didn't consider, or that you wrote off as like not doable. And like that's kind of how a lot of these armies that we've anointed, as good have come about, is like some person who like studied it and like figured something out, made it work, right? So
Sure.
that's a great thing about this game. Yeah, I'm
All right.
not unhappy to be surprised.
Yes, yeah. Because, like, the stuff at the top, we're not going to be surprised that the stuff at the top is good. We're going to be surprised that something down in B and C tier is better than we think it is. And that's a treat.
Yep.
Unless it's Slayers. Fox Slayers.